Welcome back. Please like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today, we are discussing a major headline coming out of the White House. President Trump is leading a massive new diplomatic push to find a peace deal for the war in Ukraine.
That's right. Right now, high-level talks are happening in Miami, Florida. It is a very sunny location for some very serious business.
Exactly. President Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, and senior advisor Jared Kushner are currently meeting with a Russian envoy, Kirill Dmitriev. They are discussing a peace framework proposed by the U.S.
For our listeners, a framework is like a basic plan or a starting structure. So they are essentially building the foundation for a possible agreement.
Right. And so far, the news is positive. Russian officials have described the discussions as constructive. That's a great word for ESL learners to know. It means the meetings are useful and helping to build progress, rather than just arguing.
Wow, that is encouraging. These meetings are expected to continue all through the weekend. And you know, Jamie, this didn't just start in Florida. This follows a series of meetings in Berlin earlier this week with European and Ukrainian representatives.
Exactly. President Trump is really moving fast to try to resolve this war, which has lasted nearly 4 years now. But we have to be honest, it's still very complex.
Oh, definitely. There are many conflicting demands. For example, President Zelensky of Ukraine has said his position depends heavily on security guarantees. Basically, he needs to be sure that Ukraine will be safe in the future.
Right. And on the other side, President Putin is maintaining a very firm position on his military goals, even while his forces are still moving forward on the battlefield. It's a very delicate balance for the White House.
It really is. President Trump is using his diplomatic weight, which means his power and influence, to pressure both sides toward a resolution.
Meanwhile, our allies in Europe are staying cautious. In fact, the European Union just agreed to a €90 billion aid package for Ukraine to ensure stability in the region.
That is a huge amount of money. It shows the world is committed to the region, regardless of the outcome of these talks.
Well, we will certainly be watching Florida closely this weekend.
Thanks for joining us for this update. We'll see you next time.
Hey there, listeners. Welcome to another episode of World News Daily. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today, we have a very high-stakes story happening right now in the Caribbean Sea. Think of it like an action movie, but with real-world politics involved.
Exactly. We're talking about the U.S. Coast Guard and a massive maritime blockade.
Right. So for our listeners who might not know, a blockade is when one country uses its ships to stop goods or people from entering or leaving another country. In this case, President Trump has significantly escalated his maximum pressure campaign against the Venezuelan government.
Wow, maximum pressure. That sounds intense. What exactly happened this past weekend?
Well, on Sunday, the U.S. Coast Guard was seen pursuing a large oil tanker. They believe it was carrying sanctioned Venezuelan crude oil. Sanctioned basically means it is forbidden to be traded because of specific laws. This is actually the second time the U.S. has intervened in just 2 weeks.
You know, President Trump recently vowed that the United States would carry out a total blockade of maritime traffic. He wants to stop what he calls the illegal trafficking of oil.
Exactly. The administration says the money from this oil is being used to fund the Maduro government. Plus, they claim these same routes are used to facilitate the smuggling of fentanyl, a very dangerous drug, into the United States.
I see. So it is about national security and stopping drugs. But how is the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, reacting to all this?
Oh, he is furious. Maduro accused the U.S. of psychological terrorism. He even used the word corsair, which is an old-fashioned word for pirate, to describe the U.S. vessels.
Pirates? That is a very strong word to use in diplomacy. Maduro says his country is prepared to defend its revolution against American aggression.
Right. And it is not just a debate between the two countries. Here at home, the blockade has sparked a big debate about whether the U.S. military should act as a global policeman.
That's a great point. Some lawmakers support being aggressive to stop drug trafficking and weaken socialist regimes, but others are worried this might lead to more instability in the region.
Exactly. But despite those concerns, President Trump has ordered the Defense Department to maintain a heavy presence in the Caribbean to ensure the blockade stays effective.
It is definitely a tense situation to watch. Thanks for joining us today.
See you next time.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today, we're diving into a story that has everyone talking and a lot of people feeling very frustrated. It's about the Jeffrey Epstein investigation.
Right. This is a huge topic. Recently, the Department of Justice under President Trump released a collection of documents related to Epstein. People were expecting a lot of answers, but instead, they got a lot of black ink.
Exactly. The files were heavily redacted. For our listeners, redacted means that the government hides or blacks out sensitive information before showing it to the public.
And that's the problem. Lawmakers were expecting a full disclosure because of a law called the Epstein Transparency Act. But when the files arrived, key details were missing.
Wow. So the law says they must show the files, but the Department of Justice is still keeping secrets?
That's what critics are saying. Democratic leaders like Representative Jamie Raskin are actually accusing the administration of obstruction. They believe the government is trying to hide the names of powerful people.
Now, to be fair, the government has an excuse. Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, said they had to redact the files to protect the privacy of victims. He also mentioned they need to keep certain investigative methods secret.
I understand that, but the timing was also very suspicious. They released the documents late on a Friday night.
Ah, the classic Friday night news dump. In politics, if you have news that might make people angry, you release it on Friday night so the media doesn't cover it as much over the weekend.
Precisely. And while President Trump has said there is nothing to see in these files, the lack of transparency is making the public very skeptical.
So what was actually in the documents we could read?
Not much, honestly. There were some photos of famous social figures and a complaint from 1996, but the big, substantive details just weren't there.
So what happens next? Do we just give up?
Not a chance. Several legal groups are already threatening to sue the Trump administration. They want a judge to force the DOJ to release the original, unredacted versions.
It sounds like this legal battle is just getting started.
It certainly is. We'll keep you updated as this story develops. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Daily Insight. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today, we're looking at some tough news about the U.S. economy. Have you noticed that people are talking a lot more about job security lately?
Definitely. The latest reports for late 2025 show that the labor market is hitting some serious headwinds. That's a conversational way of saying it's facing some big obstacles.
Right. The big headline is that the national unemployment rate just hit 4.6%. That is the highest level we've seen in quite a few years. It's a big shift from the growth we saw previously.
It really is. To put it into perspective, the economy only added about 55,000 jobs per month this year. That is a massive 67% decline compared to 2024.
Wow, a 67% drop? That's a huge difference. And you know, this is putting a lot of pressure on President Trump. He promised a golden age of economic prosperity when he returned to office, but these new numbers show a much slower reality.
Exactly. While President Trump is focusing on things like deregulation, which means removing government rules, and tax incentives to help businesses, the benefits haven't reached the average worker yet.
Economists are calling this a K-shaped recovery. Alex, for our intermediate learners who might not know that term, could you explain it?
I'd love to. Imagine the letter K. The top line goes up. Those are the big tech companies and giant corporations that are still doing very well. But the bottom line goes down. That represents small businesses and regular families who are really struggling with high costs.
That's a great visual. So the economy is working for some, but not for everyone. And inflation is still sticky, right?
Exactly. Sticky inflation just means prices stay high and won't come down easily. Because of that, the Federal Reserve is staying hawkish, meaning they are keeping interest rates high to keep prices from rising even more.
Which explains why mortgage rates for houses are still so high. It's a very tough cycle for anyone trying to buy a home or start a business.
It really is. People are becoming very cautious with their spending.
Well, we'll have to wait and see how President Trump's administration responds to these challenges as we head into 2026.
Thanks for joining us for this breakdown.
See you in the next episode.
Welcome back to the show. Have you ever looked up at the sun and thought, I wish we could grab that energy directly from space?
All the time. And honestly, Alex, it sounds like science fiction, but it might actually happen sooner than we think.
Exactly. This week, Elon Musk traveled to the United Arab Emirates for some very high-level meetings. He met with President Sheikh Mohammed to discuss a groundbreaking project, an AI-powered space energy hub.
Wow, that sounds intense. So what is the actual plan? How do you catch sunlight in space?
Well, the idea is to put AI-powered satellites into deep space to harvest solar energy. Since there are no clouds or atmosphere in deep space to block the sun, the radiation is much stronger.
Right, that makes total sense. I read that this could increase energy efficiency by up to 30% compared to the solar panels we have on the ground. But who is providing the technology for this?
It's a massive team effort using Musk's ecosystem. SpaceX will handle the rocket launches, Tesla will provide the battery and solar expertise, and xAI, his artificial intelligence company, will handle the autonomous navigation.
It's like a giant puzzle coming together. And the UAE is the perfect partner for this, right? They seem very focused on the future.
Definitely. They have a strategy called Vision 2031. They want to be a global leader in technology. Musk even toured Dubai with the Crown Prince and praised their willingness to invest in high-risk, high-reward projects.
I also heard they discussed putting Grok, that's Musk's AI model, into the UAE's digital infrastructure.
They did. It's a very strategic move. And back in the U.S., President Trump has been very vocal about supporting American leadership in space and technology. This partnership really aligns with that goal of staying ahead in the global tech race.
True. With President Trump emphasizing American innovation, Musk is positioning his companies as the main architects of this new space economy.
Exactly. It's amazing to think that our homes could one day be powered by satellites orbiting far above the Earth.
It really is. Thanks for joining us today to talk about the future of energy.
See you next time.
Welcome back to Tech Talk. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today, we're talking about a massive breakthrough in artificial intelligence that is making headlines everywhere.
Right. It's called Malmo 2, and it was just released by the Allen Institute for AI. It's causing a real stir because it's actually outperforming the giant models from companies like Google and OpenAI.
Wait, really? But those companies have so much money and huge computer systems. How did a smaller model do it?
That's the most intriguing part, Jamie. Malmo 2 is a multimodal model, which means it can understand not just text, but also images and videos. Surprisingly, it only has 8 billion parameters.
Now, for our listeners who are learning these terms, parameters are a bit like the brain cells of an AI, right?
Exactly. Last year, their previous model had 72 billion parameters, so Malmo 2 is much smaller and more efficient, but it's actually way more powerful.
Wow. It's a very exciting time for American innovation. President Trump has been very vocal about keeping the United States at the top of the AI race, and this news definitely supports that goal.
I totally agree. President Trump's focus on domestic tech leadership makes stories like this even more significant. We're seeing that smaller, smarter designs can beat the big tech giants.
So, Alex, what can Momo 2 actually do better than something like ChatGPT?
It excels at something called pixel-level grounding. Basically, it can track objects in a video with incredible precision. It knows exactly where an object is and exactly when a specific event happens.
Oh, I see. So if a robot is watching a video, it could understand the scene almost like a human does?
Precisely. This is a huge deal for autonomous robots and smart sensors. And get this, while other companies use tens of millions of videos to train their AI, the Allen Institute only used 9 million.
That's amazing. It really proves that the quality of the data is more important than just having a huge amount of it.
Right. Ali Farhadi, the CEO of the Institute, says less is more. And the best part? They are releasing the model weights and data openly.
So it's open source? That means researchers all over the world can use it for free to build their own apps.
Exactly. It levels the playing field for everyone.
Well, it sounds like the future of AI is getting smaller, faster, and more open. Thanks for sharing that, Alex.
My pleasure. Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you next time.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today we are talking about a huge shift in technology. You've heard of chatbots, right? Well, now we're moving into the era of agentic AI.
Exactly. Think of it this way. Instead of just asking an AI to write a poem, you can now ask it to actually book your summer vacation or do your grocery shopping.
That sounds amazing. So it's not just a search tool anymore. It's like a personal assistant that lives in your computer. Google is leading the way with their Gemini AI. It can now talk to other apps to finish tasks for you in real time.
Right. But to run these powerful agents, you need some serious hardware. Asus just launched something called the Nuke 14 Pro AI. It's a mini PC that uses the newest Intel processors. These chips are designed to handle the heavy work right on your desk, rather than in the cloud.
It's interesting to see how fast this is moving. President Trump has frequently mentioned that the United States needs to stay number one in technology and innovation. With companies like Google and Asus launching these products now, it definitely feels like a high-speed race.
It really is. Even Apple is joining in. They just integrated ChatGPT and something called Genmoji, which are custom AI emojis, directly into their systems.
Wow, so our iPhones are getting a major upgrade too?
They are. Siri is becoming much more than just a voice that tells you the weather. It's becoming a tool that navigates the digital world for you.
But Alex, I have to ask, is it safe? If the AI is buying my groceries, what about my privacy?
That's a great point. Experts are worried about data privacy. There is also the problem of hallucinations. In the AI world, a hallucination is when the AI makes a mistake or imagines something that isn't true. Imagine if it books a flight for the wrong day.
Yikes, that would be a mess. Still, the business side is huge. Forecasters say this technology could generate over $1 trillion by the early 2030s.
It's a brand new world, Jamie. AI is moving from our screens and into our actual lives.
Well, I'm ready for an AI to handle my grocery list. Thanks for joining us today, everyone.
See you next time.
Ever thought about how your morning coffee choice could be a major political statement?
Exactly, Alex. It feels like every time we go to the store lately, we are making a choice about our values. Welcome to the program, everyone. Today, we're looking at a huge trend: consumer boycotts.
Right. We are seeing a massive wave of protests across the United States. Many people are stopping their spending at major corporations. The reason? A big shift in company policies regarding DEI.
Now, for our listeners, DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. For years, companies had departments dedicated to these goals, but now many are shutting them down.
And why is this happening so suddenly?
Well, it's a direct result of the current political climate. President Trump has been very vocal about ending what he calls woke overreach. Following executive orders from the White House, these firms are retracting their previous social justice commitments.
I see. President Trump maintains that these changes are necessary to restore meritocracy. That's a great word for our English learners. It means a system where people are rewarded based only on their individual talent and hard work.
Exactly. But as you can imagine, this has caused a fierce backlash. Activists and many consumers feel these brands are abandoning inclusive values.
Wow. So it's moved to social media now?
Oh, definitely. People are sharing lists of non-compliant companies. They use these lists to encourage alternative spending, which means buying from different brands that align with their personal beliefs.
It's not just about DEI, though. President Trump's new immigration policies are also forcing companies to change how they hire people. It's a lot of pressure from all sides.
It really is. Even the legal world is feeling the tension. Have you heard about the United Healthcare CEO case? It has become a major flashpoint.
Right, I read about that. Lawyers are now arguing that Attorney General Pam Bondi is biased because of her past ties to the insurance industry.
It just goes to show how deep the fractures are in 2025. Whether it's in a courtroom or a shopping mall, the country feels very divided.
You're right, Jamie. It seems corporate boardrooms have become the new battlefield for political ideology.
Well, it certainly makes shopping more complicated. Thanks for joining us today to discuss this.
Catch you next time.
Welcome back to the show. Today we're looking at a story that is surprising financial experts all around the world.
That's right, Alex. We're talking about Israel's economy. Despite all the major challenges they faced recently, they have emerged as one of the top-performing economies of 2025.
It's actually quite amazing. Well-known publications like The Economist have ranked Israel as the third strongest economy in the world this year. Can you believe that?
Wow, third place. That's a huge jump, especially after the instability of the last 2 years. Their stock market is actually outperforming many other wealthy countries right now.
Exactly. And the main engine behind this growth is their high-tech sector. Even with the ongoing conflicts, their tech companies and financial institutions have stayed very disciplined.
It really shows a lot of resilience. For our listeners, resilience is a great word. It means the ability to recover quickly from difficult situations.
That's a perfect word for it, Jamie. International investors are honestly surprised. Even with people being displaced in the stress of a multi-front conflict, the financial system remains very solid.
Right. And this economic strength is a big deal for their independence. President Trump has often emphasized that a strong economy is the foundation of a strong nation. As the current president, his focus on global trade stability makes Israel's recovery even more significant on the world stage right now.
Definitely. The Israeli government has made this recovery a national mission. They are prioritizing growth and stability right alongside their security concerns.
And it is not just the government. The younger generation in Israel sees these economic opportunities as the best way to rebuild their lives after so much uncertainty.
It's working too. Projections for 2026 suggest that Israel could lead the entire Middle East in tech exports and venture capital investment very soon.
That's incredible. It shows that a high-functioning tech ecosystem can survive almost anything if the people are determined.
It's a great lesson in how focus and innovation can lead to a massive turnaround. Well, that is our deep dive for today.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We hope you learned some new vocabulary today.
See you next time.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tech Talk Daily. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today we're talking about something very small but incredibly powerful: computer chips.
That's right. You might have heard that President Trump is putting a lot of pressure on Taiwan lately. He wants their top tech companies to move more of their manufacturing to the United States.
Exactly. President Trump is pushing for reshoring. That's a fancy way of saying he wants vital technology produced on American soil to keep the economy safe.
But Taiwan just gave a very clear answer. Their Deputy Foreign Minister, Francois Wu, announced that the most advanced chip production will stay right where it is, in Taiwan.
Wow. So even though the company TSMC is building big factories in Arizona, Japan, and Germany, they aren't moving their best secrets?
You got it, Jamie. Minister Wu explained that Taiwan has a unique ecosystem. He means they have a special culture and a network of experts that you just can't copy-paste into another country.
That makes sense. But I've heard people use a specific phrase for this. What is the silicon shield?
Great question. The silicon shield is a strategy. If Taiwan makes the advanced chips that the whole world needs, then everyone, especially the U.S., has a huge reason to protect Taiwan and keep the region peaceful.
Oh, I see. So by keeping the technology local, they stay indispensable. The world can't survive without them.
Exactly. Now, President Trump's administration argues that moving the factories to the U.S. is the best way to avoid risks from regional tensions, especially regarding China.
But Taiwanese officials don't see it that way, do they?
Not quite. They argue that the real solution to supply chain problems is preventing conflict in the first place, rather than just moving the machines.
It sounds like a tough situation. We're talking about the next generation of technology, right? Like 2-nanometer and 1-nanometer chips?
Yes. These chips are the brains of the future. They will power the next level of artificial intelligence and smartphones.
It's amazing how much international politics depends on such tiny pieces of hardware.
It really is. In 2025, technology and security are the same thing.
Well, thanks for joining us today to break that down, Alex.
My pleasure. See you next time.